Okay, guys, we are in our last section of Chapter 7, and this is Chapter 7.6, Solving Multi-Step Inequalities. And this is also going to be similar to when we were solving equations, but now we have inequalities. So we've learned how to add and subtract, solving inequalities by adding and subtracting. And now we're going to, and we also learned how to solve inequalities with multiplication and division. And now we're going to put them all together into multi-step inequalities. Okay, now here, take a minute to copy down these key concepts for me, please, and pause, replay me when you finish. Okay, first of all, to solve multi-step inequalities, remember we're going to work backward to undo the operations. And this is just like you did when we were solving multi-step equations. You want to eliminate all parentheses and you want to move all the variables to one side. So if you have variables on both sides of the inequality symbol, same thing like we had when we had solving equations with parentheses, we just move them all to one side. Don't forget that when you multiply or divide by a negative number, you flip that inequality sign. Okay, now here's our first example. So take a minute to copy this down and we'll work it out together. Okay, so just like when we were solving equations, we have, our goal is to get our variable by itself. So we want to start out with subtracting 15 first. And we have 6x is greater than 9 minus 15, which is a negative 6. Okay, and here we got to keep getting our variable by itself, so we divide by 6 on both sides, and x is greater than negative 1. Okay. Now, here our directions ask us to solve each inequality. Then we're going to check our solution. So we're going to come here and check our problem. And we have x is greater than negative 1. So I want a number that's going to be greater than negative 1. Let's say 0. 0 is greater than negative 1. And we say 6 times 0 plus 15 is greater than 9. 6 times 0 is 0. And we've got 15 is greater than 9. Is 15 greater than 9? Yes. Okay, and then finally our directions ask us to graph the solution on a number line. So we're going to graph x is greater than negative 1. So we come to negative 1, we have an open circle on negative 1, and we're pointing to the right. All right, this is your turn. Please solve this inequality, check it, and then graph it. And pause me until you complete all of those, and replay me when you're ready for the answer. All right, so we subtract 4 on both sides. We have 3x is less than or equal to 27. And we divide by 3, and x is less than or equal to 9. Okay, and we can check it. And your check might be a little bit different just because you could choose different numbers here, but you either need to choose a number less than 9 or equal to 9. So I'm going to choose actually 9. 3 times 9 plus 4 is less than or equal to 31. 27 plus 4 is less than or equal to 31. And 27 plus 4 is 31, which is less than or equal to 1. It is, in fact, equal to. And then finally, the last part of our directions was to graph it. And I have x is less than or equal to 9. So we should have a closed circle on 9. And our graph is going to be pointing to the left. All right, now here is an example where we have variables on both sides of the inequality. Okay, now this should have little red flags coming out from when you see this problem. I've got an A on this side and I've got an A on this side. That's bad. I want them all on one side of the equal sign. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 2A from my right side. What you do to one side, you've got to do the other. So those cancel. And I have 10, negative 3A minus 2A is a negative 5A is less than or equal to 25. And we keep solving, so we subtract 10. And we have a negative 5a is less than or equal to 15. And now here I'm going to divide by a negative 5. Whenever I divide by a negative, what happens to your sign? It flips. Okay, so once it started facing to the left, it was a less than. Well, now it's a greater than because I divided by a negative 5. And so I have a, and 15 divided by negative 5 is negative 3. A is greater than or equal to negative 3. Okay, so then when I go in and check, I need a number that is greater than or equal to negative 3. So when I plug in, we can plug in equal to 3. 10 minus 3 times negative 3 is less than or equal to 25 plus 2 times negative 3. And here we simplify, and we get negative 9. Negative times negative is positive. And we have 25 minus 6. 10 plus 9 is 19. Less than or equal to 25 minus 6 is 19. So we're right with our check. Great. So we're going to come in and graph our inequality, and it says a is less than or equal to negative 3. So we find negative 3 on the number line, and we have a closed circle on negative 3, and we're pointing to the right. Okay, now here is a your turn one. This one is a little different because it does have decimals, but don't fear the decimal. It's just going to be exactly like it was. So give me a pause and try this example as best you can. All right, so we are going to draw a line down that sign, and we have a variable on both sides, right? So we need to move them all to one side of the equal sign, or inequality sign. Whoa, that was a mess up. 3.9, subtract 3.9, and I'm going to subtract 3.9 from this side. 3.9n, which cancels. And I'm left with 5 over there. And I've got a negative 6.1n minus a 3.9n. So that gives us a negative 10.0n. And we still want our variable by itself, so we're going to divide by negative 10. Uh-oh, I divided by a negative. So what happens when I divide by a negative? You need to flip that sign, right? It was greater than or equal to, and I need to flip it so it's less than or equal to. So n is less than or equal to negative 5/10, which is really just negative 1/2. So I'm going to come over here and graph. Negative 1/2 is approximately right here. And it is a closed circle on negative 1/2 pointing to the left. Okay. All right, here's another example where we are having parentheses. Okay, now this parentheses, we want to eliminate those first. So how do we eliminate those with equal signs? Was we did the distributive property, which is going to be exactly the same as we're going to do with inequalities. So first of all, you want to distribute here, so we get 18 plus 3c is less than 126. Okay, and we're going to make sure we get our c by itself, so we're going to subtract 18. And we have, let's see, 108. And we divide by 3. And 108 divided by 3 is 36. Okay, now notice the difference between the one we just did and this one right here is I'm dividing by a positive 3. Now if I ever divide by a positive, I don't have to flip my sign. It's only special when the case is negative. Okay, so I have a number that is less than 36. So when I go in to plug it in, I plug in a number that is less than 36. So choose a number less than 36. We could do 0. 0 is less than 36, isn't it? Less than 126. So 6 plus 0 is 6 times 3. Oh, that's not equal to. Excuse me, sorry. just a less than. And 6 times 3 is 18 less than 126. Is 18 less than 126? Yes, then you are correct. So let's come down here and we'll graph C is less than 36. Oh, well, our graph doesn't show 36, does it? So what you do is you can just draw kind of a little mini number line, and we'll write numbers that are around 36. So we have 34, 35, 36, 37. So we'll just have a little makeshift number line here. And we graph 36, so we have a open circle on 36, and we are pointing to the left. Okay, and one more, your turn. So I'd like you to try this problem and replay me when you're ready for the answer. Okay, so you should have taken this 1/2 to the 2d, which makes that just 1d plus 3/2 is less than -8. And you subtract 3/2. And d is, let's see, -13/2. All right, so we have -13/2, which is approximately just -6.5. So we have a number that is less than -6.5. So we would like a number that is less than -6.5 to plug in our check. So let's take 1/2. Maybe let's do -10, or yours could be, anything else that's less than -6.5. Plus 3 is less than -8. Okay, so we're going to check this right quick. 1/2 times -20 plus 3 is less than -8. And 1/2 is -17 less than -8. And -17 over 2 is less than -8. And 17 over 2 is roughly 8.5. So is -8.5 less than -8? Yes, it is. Not by a whole lot, but it is less than. And so our check is correct. So we're going to come on to our number line here, and we're going to graph approximately -6.5, which is right here. We're going to have an open circle on -6.5, and we're pointing to the left. All right, now we've got a couple more practice problems for you to try. I'd like you to get these into your notes, and don't forget to write down any questions that you may have, so you may ask those in class tomorrow when we see each other. And good luck. Happy practicing.